The land that remembered. When the fire took her parents, the village said it was fate. When the graves were covered, the village said she should be grateful she was still alive. And when the elders came for the land her parents left behind, the village said she had no right to complain. Her name was Nala, and she was only 16 when she became alone. The land was small, barely enough to farm, but it was everything her parents owned. Her mother used to say the soil was old, older than the village itself. Her father warned her never to sell it, never to dig too deep, and never to let strangers mark it. But after they died, strangers were all that came. Men arrived with ropes and wooden stakes, dragging lines across the soil as if tearing skin. Nestor, the village elder, ignored her pleas as he hammered a jagged stake into the earth. Nala screamed until her voice broke. She knelt, she begged, she reminded them it was her inheritance. Then the king himself came riding, his robes clean, his eyes cold. King Gildas looked down from his high saddle, the horse's hooves trampling the very flowers Nala's mother had planted. "A child cannot own what feeds many," Gildas said, his voice like grinding stone. "This land belongs to the village now." That night, Nala slept beside the torn earth. She did not go to the village for warmth or bread. Instead, she lay in the furrows made by the strangers' ropes. She cried into the soil until her tears soaked deep into the dark, silent depths. She whispered the names of her mother and father into the cracks, and for the first time, she felt the land stir beneath her. The land was listening. The first death happened 3 nights later. King Gildas's only son, Elias, was found at dawn at the edge of the stolen field. His body was untouched, no wounds, no blood, but his face was frozen in terror, his mouth open as if screaming at something only he could see. The king knelt by the boy, his royal robes trailing in the dirt, his cold eyes finally breaking with a flicker of fear. Fear settled over the village like a suffocating shroud. Another child died the next night, and then another, always near the land, always without wounds. Mothers like Mila held their children close, locking doors and burning fires until morning. Mila sat in the corner of her hut, clutching her son Toby to her chest, her eyes wide as she watched the shadows dancing on the walls, terrified of the silence outside. Nala heard it before anyone else. It wasn't a sound of the wind or the trees. It was a sound beneath the ground, not digging, not crawling, but a heavy, rhythmic breathing. On the 7th night, the earth split, not with a crash, but with slow, deliberate intent. Nala stood at the center of her field, watching as the soil heaved and parted like a dark curtain. Something rose from the land where her parents once stood. It was tall, shaped like a man but hollow, its skin cracked like dry, ancient soil. This was Radix, the spirit of the old earth. Roots twisted where veins should be, and its eyes glowed faintly, like embers buried too long. Radix did not scream or run. It moved with the weight of the mountain, and the ground followed its every step. The thing went first to the houses of those who dragged the ropes. One by one, they were found at dawn. King Gildas tried to flee, but he never made it past the boundary stone. He was found at sunrise, kneeling in the dirt, his hands pressed to the ground. Radix stood over him, a silent shadow of vengeance, as the king stared up in wide-eyed horror at the land that had finally spoken back. Only Nala was spared. Radix came to her that final night and stood silently at the edge of the field. She felt no fear, only warmth, like being held by something ancient and familiar. At dawn, the killing stopped. The villagers gathered in silence, broken and afraid. They did not ask Nala to leave, for they knew now that some land is not owned, and some things, once awakened, never sleep again.